Dom time. Now, Dom Giordano.
It is Dom time. Fresh, coming off doing Channel 6, which I love to do. You'll see at 11:30 this Sunday, Inside Story. And we had a big guest this week, Dan. There was a lot of talk over there about that. Ryan Boyer came on because he is ahead of the building trades, and he thinks that vouchers should be allowed. So I hope you have a chance to see it. I did get into a little bit of a back and forth because I think, sadly, and look, we try to bring you people that we might differ with a little bit or sometimes a lot rather than just the chorus. It's much more interesting. I think he may have gotten a lot of people saying, no, what the heck are you doing here, Ryan Boyer? So we hope that he'll come back. That's the sense I got from the tenor of it. Also, at 12:30 today, we're going to have on the police chief over from Bensalem, quite an accomplished guy. He wrote a long piece, The Philly Effect on Suburban Towns. And we're going to find out why this hasn't been out there in umpteen outlets. I'll ask him about that. And Dan, we follow these things. For listeners, let's put it in perspective. You just put up yesterday a link to this, and it really goes into detail. The Drivers Equity Act, Larry Krasner. We're talking the suburbs now, not just Philadelphia. How many views did that get?
It's sitting at our post alone is around 70,000 views. Philly Crime Update retweeted it almost immediately. Thank you for that, Philly Crime Update. I think they're around 50,000. So I don't know if that quantifies into ours or not. And then Mark Fu, I think, has around 10,000. So it's really getting out there.
125,000 people may have viewed it in one form or another. What does that tell us? It tells us there's interest here. And what I'm trying to do is drive these other suburban towns who will not step up to push back against this menace. And the menace is Larry Krasner. The menace is the Drivers Equity Act. This guy will be here at 12:30 today, William McVeigh, and he lays out here how much towns like Bensalem are having to deal with this. And it's coming from where? Philadelphia. They don't want to hear it. Their Praetorian Guard of the Philadelphia Inquirer and all jump in. They start attacking our buddy out there in Abington, Chief Malloy. They go after Luke Capelli Jr. over in Camden. No, it's you. Just like Trump yesterday criticized for talking about how bad Washington, D.C. is. It's horrible. Maybe even more than that when it comes to big city crime, since it's on my mind. Listen to, this is Cut 5, Dan, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. Now, there was a riot at a convenience store. People going, what? This was a lot worse than the Mayfair 100. Listen to this guy, though, the mayor of Chicago. Crime is up. I know that seems impossible. When a reporter, I think it's a foreign reporter, asked him about this and talks about the mob, which is a legal term. They are a mob, mayor. Mob. Listen to the response of the mayor of Chicago.
It's not appropriate. We're not talking about mob actions. I didn't say that. What happened? Hold on a second. Okay, respectfully, these large gatherings. These large gatherings, just hold on a second, y'all. I promise you, we have time to talk. It's important that we speak of these dynamics in an appropriate way. This is not to obfuscate what is actually taking place.
No, of course not. Can't call them a mob. Mob.
I have a little bit more, too, if you want it.
Okay.
This was the scene near Roosevelt and Canal Sunday night. Groups looted a convenience store. More than 36 teenagers were arrested, along with a 12-year-old and at least one 20-year-old. Store owners say it was the second such incident in that area in just the past few weeks. And today, Mayor Johnson commended Chicago police for the way they handled it.
To the best of their ability, I believe that they attempted to engage with our young people, with community partners.
Oh, my God.
Giving as much warning as they possibly could. And, unfortunately, arrests, were made.
Unfortunately, arrests were made. And they voted for him in Chicago. Stop whining. Stop complaining when you continue to engage in this. But it's spreading into the suburbs. And a lot of our listeners are in the suburbs, not just Bensalem and Abington, where they've stepped up. What about in Delaware County? What about in Chester County? Are people going to say, no, we don't want that coming here? And get on your state representatives to say, you got to push back on Philadelphia, power of the purse. That's the way to do it. All right. I missed this yesterday. I don't know how. I saw it. It didn't dawn on me. I was watching it with Dan after the show. Wawa has a new solution to this. I think we have the cut from NBC 10. They'll explain it. It's a Wawa out in University City, and it was on Krasner land yesterday, that is very highly trafficked. What are they doing? No shelves. You order everything online, and somebody brings it to you at a Wawa. Why did I miss that, Dan? Thank God you were a backstop there. I mean, this is right. This is a fastball. Saliva is getting all over. I have to rub my hands. Give me a bib. This is coming down the plate. By the way, the purple tie looks resplendent on YouTube today.
It does.
Fresh off this, yes.
It does. And that's why I'm having you delay here for a second, because I'm pulling up the video.
Okay.
I want to give them the video
Yes.
of this NBC 10 situation.
Yeah, and what they say at the end, well, if it makes it faster, maybe that's good. So you and I are thinking, what's it going to be like there at lunchtime? This Wawa, you'll be able to see it on YouTube, has a lot of space. It's like a huge Wawa with just a few screens there to bring up what you want. I think you're right, Dan. It's going to be like the DMV office, and you sit in a chair for 20 minutes waiting for your coffee. That's exactly what they're going to do. Has Wawa lost its mind? Do they actually think that this is some kind of remedy to what they face in the city?
Listen to this. A big change is coming to a Wawa in Philadelphia. It's about to go digital. Wawa released a picture of the fully digital store in University City. There are no shelves.
Ooh.
All items must be purchased on the Wawa mobile app or on the in-store touchscreens. Then a worker behind the counter grabs your items. Right now, the store is in the testing stage.
Interesting.
Right?
If it's faster, then
And there you go.
Is there no connecting of the dots with the rest of the media here in this town? Is that what it's about? Wawa's trying to go faster, or they're trying to limit the damage that they face of shoplifting and things like that, right? There are no items to shoplift. We think they're in a back room. Can you imagine having to go to a back room to get the coffee and come in? If it makes it faster, how many people are they going to have serving people there? The confusion, the chaos. When does that open, Dan? Do you have any idea? I got to go over and see that in operation.
I'll get it here in a second. I just want to do this.
Yeah.
interesting.
Right?
If it's faster, then
Sorry. Sounds very familiar. I don't have the what is it? You don't have the date here.
Okay. It should be pretty soon. They're testing it.
I think it's open already.
It's open
Yeah.
in University City. If somebody's out there, tell us.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
kind of-
So the first
yeah.
of its kind Wawa
Right.
located at 3300 Market Street, University
Right.
City neighborhood, is being used as a test location according to Wawa. So it's currently running under this format.
Oh, I'm sure it's so much faster. All right. I want to play you a cut of Ben Domovich. He is the husband of Meghan McCain, and he's the Federalist, I guess. He's had several online publications. He's a conservative. I like him, but he's got Trump derangement syndrome. Listen to his analysis. And here we go again. There are people out there actually believing, trying to tell themselves they're doing this to Trump because they recognize every time they do this, Trump is more likely to be the candidate. And they want to face Trump. That's the argument. Listen to Domenech.
The Biden administration has decided, the DOJ, Democrats in Congress, and the Biden White House and the Biden team, and frankly, to the degree that Obama is running it, that too, that they want to take on Trump. That is their preferred candidate in 2024. It's why they're continuing this extremely ridiculous, escalating series of indictments.
Yep.
But I think that, and I write about that today at The Spectator, they are making him the leading candidate in the race. And what I think they're doing is playing an extremely dangerous game, because they are assuming that with tepid Bidenomics and with, a lack of trust in this leadership class,
Yep.
that they're going to be able to still beat him. I don't think they should be that confident.
All right. So the idea is they're putting Trump out there because Trump is the easiest to beat. Remember we had that before, and a number of people that buy into that. Now, at least if they say, well, it would be easier to beat, we're draining his time, his concentration, his money. I guess you can make some argument. Do they really want to face Trump? Who is it they don't want to face then on the Republican side? They don't seem to have much respect at this point for DeSantis that I can tell. So if not Trump, who do they really fear? Who is it that they think is a real threat? Now, one last thing on the Trump stuff as we close the books for this week. Politico's got a deep dive on one of the statues that they went after Trump with. This statute goes all the way back, if you can imagine, to Ulysses S. Grant. That's right, who's buried in Grant's tomb. And what happened is, this is 1870, post-Civil War, of course. And in the South, oh, you had that ready to go. In the South, you had people that were not following the ability of free and fair elections and the rights of blacks to vote, etc. The enforcement acts, known as the Ku Klux Klan Acts, its prime target, criminalized widespread attempts by former Confederates to deny black Southerners their right to vote. Well, guess what? Politico says, instead of saying as I'm saying, what the hell does that have to do with Trump? Ku Klux Klan, it's not just race. They say, today American democracy once again stands at a crossroads. The refusal of many Republican office holders to accept the outcome of a free and fair election and Trump's outright appeal to fraud and violence is an effort to overturn that election, precisely the kinds of anti-democratic practices that were being done in 1870. So see, when you believe that Trump is Hitler, Mussolini, fascist, and his supporters, you can go back to 1870 with the Ku Klux Klan to say, yes, I'm so glad Jack Smith came up with this. It's so much on point. By the way, Dan, I do have some admiration for the prosecutor. I heard on Fox and Friends this morning that he's done 11 triathlons. Wow.
Who did this?
Jack Smith.
What?
Yes. I don't know how he finds time to practice to get ready to do a triathlon.
It's 11 more than me.
Yes, that's right. So now I, of course, am in that club, 1/3 of it, with the Boston Marathon. Check. I can't swim very well, if at all. Swam with the Dolphins. Check. And I think I could ride a bike 100 miles, or I can get Nick Cale to do it for me. So could we do a station triathlon? Who can handle the swimming here? How about you?
No.
All right. Nick's got the bike. I can do the marathon.
Oh, swimming. Like if we
Yeah.
did team, like, okay. I like this. Pass the baton.
No, you do it yourself.
Oh, I got to
Yeah.
do all the legs?
Yeah,
I was going
you-
to say,
you
maybe
just-
swimming I could knock out for us. I'm a decent swimmer.
Oh, that's okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can knock off the swimming.
Got the
Nick,
Michael Phelps style of body.
Nick the bike.
without the
Now,
muscle.
I will complete the marathon. God knows what time it will be. But imagine going back to that on Trump. That's where we're going. And they think it's wildly appropriate. All right, we got a lot of stuff today. As I said, coming up, the Ben Salem police chief. And people are taking to this. This guy is sounding the alarm. Why are media outlets not covering it about what's happening in the suburbs? Is it just the near suburbs? Can you look, if you're 40 miles from Philadelphia, I wouldn't think, well, let's make the ring 20 miles of Philadelphia. I think you're at risk from the spillover from all these criminals. Side question today, it is National Chocolate Chip Day, one of my favorite days of the year. Top 10, without a doubt. We all know the chocolate chip. They shouldn't even, well, it's like the 7-Eleven of cookies, the oatmeal raisin. Oh, cookies. Yeah, they're oatmeal raisin. Oh, yeah, well, I'll pass. I'm on a diet. National Chocolate Chip Day. So here's what you do. You take the GOAT, the greatest of all time in any category. Give us the category and then give us the GOAT, whatever category you want. For example, Soros-backed prosecutors. We know who the GOAT
that's a
is.
great one.
Larry the K. Okay, captain of the all smug team. I'll take one more off. Greatest song ever. My Way.
I
The
love
GOAT.
it.
Yes, definitely in there.
Might
It's
have
a
a
GOAT.
money melody built around that today.
Okay. All right, Dan, how about your GOAT?
I think the listeners are very aware by now that I am a adult wrestling fan.
Okay.
Yes. So, Ric Flair, man,
Yep,
the
we're in
GOAT,
agreement.
the GOAT of
He's
all
the
wrestler.
GOAT.
Yeah. I mean, Hulk Hogan has an argument. There's some. I mean, The Rock, Stone Cold might have an argument. But no, they don't compare to Ric Flair. Ric Flair is the Nature Boy. He's the guy.
Look at the longevity.
The greatest of all time wrestler.
Yeah, look at the longevity. Look at the whole thing.
Yeah.
Look at the hair dye. All right, 855-839-1210. That's how you get on board. At the end of your call, hit us on the side question. Give us a category. Give us the GOAT. Are they really kidding themselves? They really want to face Trump. Now, Obama apparently at the White House cautioning them, you really don't want to face Trump. I'm thinking of a state like Pennsylvania. Could Ron DeSantis, for example, beat Biden in Pennsylvania? I don't see it. Now, Trump possibly could lose by more than Ron DeSantis in Pennsylvania, depending upon circumstances. But we know that he already won Pennsylvania once. And we know some of the dynamics why. I don't know that DeSantis has the same ability to do that. Who is it that can beat Biden is a good question. Youngkin, I think, could beat Biden if he gets in. We got to see what he does. Trump can beat Biden, or he could lose to Biden, depending upon circumstances. Do they really want Trump? That's what this is all about. Look, 1 or 2 indictments, maybe. Doing this constantly, it tells me they're afraid of Trump more than they want Trump. 855-839-1210. That's how you get in with Dom and Dan on Talk Radio 1210. Dom Giordano's show. Welcome in. So yesterday, they sort of signed off on a budget in Harrisburg, a galaxy far, far away. And we don't get into the weeds about Harrisburg, I realize. But such passion over vouchers, school choice, that type of thing. We do get into that. Before I do that, though, Dan, what's the latest? We got about an hour and a half left. Mark Houck, a lot of the callers yesterday and people contacting me said, look, I love Mark Houck. I love the idea of facing the federal government. But they heard him yesterday and say, there's no way that's going to win in Bucks County, the abortion issue, as he runs against Fitzpatrick. But on Twitter, we had a goodly number of people voting. It's in the 60% range saying they would vote for Houck over Fitzpatrick.
2 hours left on the poll, Dom. Mark Houck has 63.2% of the vote. Brian Fitzpatrick with 36.8% of the vote.
So is it that people are not hearing, though? They just go, well, that's what I want. The consequence of that. Could he win in the general election? I think it's the same Democrat that ran the last time against Fitzpatrick that's going to run this time. And it's somebody with military service. I think Fitzpatrick won pretty easily the last time.
So looking at historical elections, it's usually like 65-35. And you asked me yesterday what I expected the poll to be. I expected it to be, 60-40 in favor of Brian Fitzpatrick, because looking at historically, that's about where Bucks County voted. I am shocked to see that flipped on its head, and it's actually, essentially 60-40 the other way around, and Mark Houck's the one winning out this time.
Well, what it is, and we're inviting, I'm sure you're going to invite him, you're inviting him on, Brian Fitzpatrick, to come on and talk about this challenge if he would. It's both Brian Fitzpatrick and in general, people are tired of Republicans who say they're going to do something and then they get pushed around. Martina White's going to be here at 1 o'clock today, because yesterday they signed a budget in Harrisburg, but $1 billion plus was not signed off on, I think, because they're still fighting to get vouchers. And I think that's of deep significance and importance, both morally and tactically. How in the world can they hold this up when it affects kids that are Black or Latino, by and large? How? Well, that's what Democrats are doing. And they've gotten away with it so far. So are Republicans going to back down again? And Fitzpatrick is seen as somebody who votes with the Democrats on some big issues way too often. He did not vote. That was up on Twitter. He did not vote for Trump's impeachment. He didn't vote for that. All right. So that's not true. But I understand the antagonism. But don't you have to win? Can Mark Houck win? In my judgment, it's going to be very difficult. I love what the guy stands for, what he did. You heard him with me yesterday, though. This election, 2024, Democrats are going to be trying to ride abortion. And on the national level, they're going to try to ride January 6th. We're going to see more and more and more January 6th. Now, Tucker had an interview with the former Capitol Police Chief talking about what Democrats did on that day. Nancy Pelosi not getting the National Guard when it was offered to her early on, much before that day, and talking about he felt set up. Why in the world were not precautions taken? So January 6th, we're going to get into discovery with it. I can hardly wait. We have the transcript now of Archer and Goldman of New York, shall we say politely, is told untruths. Archer never said they were trying to create the illusion of access to Biden. They had it on 20 occasions at least. When you read the transcript, it's pretty clear what he was testifying to is pretty much what we thought happened here. So we have the Hunter Biden situation percolating there. We also see now that Gavin Newsom is going to debate Ron DeSantis on Hannity's show. He's actually willing to come on Hannity's as a home court advantage. Dan, that's pretty good. I'm amazed. Why is he doing it? He's doing it because he thinks something could happen with Biden, and this will put him in the front ring. The only problem is, can he jump over Kamala Harris? And I'd say he can't. Based on identity factors, he's not going to be able to do that. And I don't know what they think. As long as Biden's alive, he's going to be in the White House. I'm not in the camp of all these people that think they're going to give you a smart take, and they say goofy stuff like neither Trump or Biden will be there when we get into next summer at the conventions as nominees, they will be there. Unless there is some health thing that we can't predict or death. Trump is not going to give up. He's in jail. It's going to embolden more. He'll run to the end of his life. And from jail, he knows that it'd be the only way to get out of there if he is in prison. And Biden and Jill Biden, Dr. Jill Biden. So yesterday, President Trump was miffed. Jimmy Matthews, I think, was there in Washington, Dan, because the judge said, Mr. Trump, good morning. The hell you mean, Mr. Trump? I mean, I don't know
Trump.
why out of the universe do people not get it that when you've held some office, it's a matter of respect, and I always will do that on either side. Now, if Clinton were in here now, I'd say President Clinton. It's not Clinton, it's not Trump, it's the office. There's only one exception. If you say Mrs. Jill Biden, wait a minute, it's Doctor. Why is Jill Biden the only one in the world that gets that title? Because she's not a medical doctor where you would know you definitely should say it. But why? Why is it that that's the only way to go? All right, 855-839-1210. Let me go to Joe in Levittown. And Joe, you're on Talk Radio 1210. Hey, Joe, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you? I'm so happy that you let me on. I want to be candid with your audience. I'm a former mayor, school teacher, also a Catholic. I know both Fitzpatricks, the whole family, for the most part, who I've had much respect for. And I know Mark Houck personally, okay? So, and I'm not going to throw anybody under the bus either way. But I just want people to know if you can't brand Mark Houck with a one-issue race, which is the abortion issue. Because let's look at the crime in our cities, in our suburbs. It's out of hand. You could relate, you know, if you kill on
wait a
one
minute,
end,
Joe. With all due respect, though,
Correct.
you won political office. You're saying,
Say that again?
all right, you said you were a mayor. So you get this. It doesn't matter what you and I say. There's no rules in politics. That's exactly what Democrats will do. They have nothing else to run on.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. There's no holds barred. But I want your audience to know, and the audience, especially of Bucks County, where I live, okay, that we have crime. We our schools, which I'm a school teacher, I believe it's
Right.
out of hand. I think that I believe parents should have a right to have their schools run the way they want, with what they want, because this is our community and our society.
Well, Joe, well, let me
Let's
bottom
look at the
line you, though.
murder-
What are you telling us about Mark Houck's candidacy,
I'm
Joe?
trying to say that he's a fair and honest man, and there's way more issues than just the abortion issue. And I think he is a very honest and good person. And
Well,
people
wait a
should
minute,
know
Joe.
that.
Okay,
I
Joe.
think he will do the right thing.
Well, wait a minute. I agree with all that. But, Joe, my theory, and it's been proven right every time, if you're against the exceptions to abortion, and I respect his principles, we had that conversation yesterday on that, you will not win in Pennsylvania, which is more conservative, I think, than Bucks County, and you're not going to win in Bucks County.
I understand that, but you know, it's the devil you know or the devil you don't know. Which is the more important? The crime in our schools in our society totally out of hand with our schools, and the crime that's going on throughout the state of Pennsylvania. What is the bigger issue? I'm saying the bigger issue, if people will really look at it and assess it, is the fact that our crime is out of control.
Well, look,
There's a lot of
Joe,
things that are out of
we're in
control.
complete agreement. Here's what I'm saying, though. It's sad, is it not, that when the issue of abortion comes up, if there's even a hint that you're on the other side of it, you're pro-life as I am and you are, it's like a Taylor Swift concert at the voting booths where young women who don't know a damn thing show up just to vote because someone tells them they might not be able to get an abortion. That's what we're facing, Joe.
I have one more thing to say on the abortion issue, okay? And I realize, and look, I'm politically savvy, and you know, I understand exactly what you're saying and see that part of it, how hard it is for anybody that's pro-abortion to win an election in Pennsylvania. Not that it can't be done. The bottom line is people have to realize that when they start looking at abortion, if you can kill on one end, it's the same person, you can kill on the other end.
We're in complete agreement, Joe. Thank you. Thanks for a great call. Nice guy. Let me put it to you this way. There's a lot of ways to do this job. I'd rather do it telling you straightforward. I haven't gotten any blowback on this at all. that in my judgment, the evidence is there, and it saddens me. Mark Houck has got a great story, government overreach here, his ministry, the stuff that he's done. All right, coming up, an unbelievable story. Speaking about crime, the police chief of Ben Salem Township just wrote this long, brilliant piece, Philly Effect on Suburban Towns. If you're out there in suburbia, what are you doing to get your town council, mayor, and others to step up on this? Because Ben Salem is. He's next here on Talk Radio 1210.
For the rest of the afternoon, a shower or thunderstorm is possible. Looks like some stronger to severe weather just outside of our viewing area off to the west, mainly over the Poconos, perhaps parts of the Lehigh Valley getting in on that. We'll keep a close eye on it. Temperatures topping out in about the middle and the upper 80s. For tonight, showers and thunderstorms still trying to work through the area. They will be present until about midnight or so, and then everything begins to die down. Overnight lows are in the upper 60s to about 70, a muggy feel. Now, Saturday looks fantastic. Mostly sunny skies, middle and upper 80s. Humidity is going to drop as well. I'm NBC 10 First Alert meteorologist Justin Godnick.
All right, Dom Giordano Show. Usually I don't read verbatim, Dan, the resume, et cetera, of somebody we have as a guest, but this demands to be read because I'm sick and tired of the attacks on police, et cetera. Director of Police out there in Ben Salem, William McVeigh, is a 25-year police veteran, holds a master's degree from St. Joe's University, is a graduate of Northwestern University School of Police and Command, as well as Police Executive Research Forum's Senior Management Institute for Police. McVeigh serves as executive board member of the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police Association, vice president of the Chiefs of Police of Southern Pennsylvania, and Ben Salem's Police Department is an accredited law enforcement agency through the Pennsylvania Law Enforcement Accreditation Commission and the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies, which is the gold standard. I would say this is more like platinum or plutonium. I don't know if that's the standard. Let's go to Chief McVeigh here on Talk Radio 1210. Is it director is the official title or chief?
Good afternoon, Don. Director is my official title.
Okay, we will use that. Well, thank you for what you wrote. The Philly effect on suburban towns. Have outlets picked up on this? I'm sure you've made it public. Well, we got it here at the station.
Well, first, thank you for having me on. I sent it to one news outlet 9 days ago and haven't seen anything. I got a few calls this morning, but you were the first one who put it out there and published it pretty much instantaneously. So thank you for getting this very important message out there. And thank you for the very kind opening.
Well, I have only one gripe, one point to pick here. It's a point of order, sir, director. And that is you start with driver's equity, and I respect your professional opinion. You have to respect my professional opinion. Larry Krasner should always be first. Was it a toss-up why you started with driver's equity over Krasner?
So, good question. I started with driver's equity because I think that's what's putting most people in danger in society as a whole. And not just because of the people who aren't being stopped, who are carrying guns, which I'll cover, but the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration just put out a piece that 18% we've risen in roadway fatalities since 2019. And one of the contributing factors that people are starting to speculate, which I truly believe, is a complete lack of traffic enforcement on the hands of police officers because of some of these driver equity law changes. Officers aren't free to do their job. Drivers are now driving with impunity. And what we've seen in Ben Salem, which is very disturbing, is nine convicted felons in the past 7 months. Our officers on patrol have stopped for what we call a minor traffic violation, and they've been found to be illegally possessing a handgun, one of which who was wanted out of Philadelphia for an armed robbery. So by stopping cars for these minor offenses, you're not only deterring crime, you're not only catching criminals, but you're removing these guns that can harm innocent victims. And that's what gets lost in this conversation all the time, is the innocent victims that we're sworn to protect. So that's why I led with the driver equity, because I think that across this country is really having a negative impact on communities.
Well put. I understand now. You have your focus. You're doing your job. My job is to continue to agitate toward getting rid of Larry Krasner. So that's why I would lead with it. What does Krasner have to do, though, with what's going on in Ben Salem?
So what we're seeing with Krasner's office, and first we started our day off with a notification. One of our local hotels, a guy was sleeping in a car because there was no vacancy. He was awoken by 4 men, 3 masked with handguns pointed at him, who carjacked him, and I'm sure you know where they fled. They fled south into the city of Philadelphia. Where Krasner comes in is, and before I go there, when we catch these individuals, we're lucky to have a district attorney like Matt Weintraub, because we will ensure once they're caught that the appropriate bail is set to ensure public safety and they can't go out and re-victimize. And that's what we're seeing with Krasner. Just like what Pat Malloy just saw in Abington and his community just went through, people are being released on the street that have no right to be on the street and be free to move about and continue their criminal ways. And that's what we see. In 2021, one of the most significant cases we had, an individual fired 9 shots into a crowd at Wawa in Ben Salem because he had an argument with someone. Our patrol officers responded, got in a foot chase. The guy pulled his gun. They were able to subdue him without lethal force, but he was out on bail for homicide in the city of Philadelphia. How does that make any logical sense to anyone? And it continues to play out across the counties. And just like Malloy faced in Abington, we see it on a daily basis. And I don't know what it's going to take to stop this broken process.
Well, Ben Salem's doing very well, though, because you guys are state of the art. Then there's you and respect we have for you. Then there's Mayor DiGirolamo offering that leadership. Question I have for you, and again, I'm not asking for any private conversations, with other police chiefs that you talk with, if there's a united front, there's Malloy, there's Luke Capelli over in Camden, of all places, pushing back, you and Ben Salem publicly, I'm sure these other communities are not dumb. They have to be aware it's there or coming to them because of all these policies that we're talking about. If we had 40 or 50 suburban communities in one voice saying this, it would be a bit of a showdown with other public officials to have to do something.
I agree. It's a great point. I think what happens is the further you get away from, the epicenter of these issues, people think it's less likely. It's not going to come to them. Well, eventually it will if we don't stop it. And I can tell you that I'm part of the executive board for the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police. We're working on something. We are united in our feelings on policing and how this is happening and the negative consequences we're all feeling. So I think you'll start seeing things come out. But you mentioned Mayor Joe DiGirolamo, and I put in my letter, he doesn't apologize for his stance on crime. And that's how it starts at the top, and that's what we institute as our command staff here. We want criminals locked up. We want people in cars stopped. We want to deter them from causing any harm to our residents. That's our main job. And when you put them back on the street without any consequence, they're going to continue to do what they do. And it's not fair to the everyday resident that they got to be out in danger because of that. And I think, to your point, the more Chief Malloy, myself, and others speak up, and our Chiefs Association start to speak up, maybe there'll be a change. And I'm hopeful. There's a new mayor coming to the city of Philadelphia. She campaigned some on public safety and stopping this. I'm very hopeful. There's a great opportunity for change. And the officers in the city of Philadelphia do a fantastic job. And I can't say that enough. This is no reflection on them. I have the utmost respect for them. In fact, we've hired 16 of them in the past 5 years, and they're doing exceptional work here now. So I can't say that enough. They need support. They need someone like Mayor Joe DiGirolamo to back them up and tell them they're going to provide them with all the tools necessary to keep their community safe.
Well put. Well, look, I hope the other news outlets pick up on this. You're one of the first to put something like this down in print. And I realize the point you made on driving equity, hopefully the courts are going to get a mosey on here and they're going to rule on that. I don't see how it's constitutional. The other thing is, thank God you and Mayor DiGirolamo, your infrastructure there, because you have the casino there too. And this is the type of thing that draws people from a lot of different places. And you probably recognize, Director, that, when they come there, maybe they let their guard down. Maybe they think they're kind of like on vacation in some instances. So we really need to cut off at the pass any people that might want to prey on that.
I couldn't agree with you more. And the direction we provide from the top is that we want our officers visible and proactive. I'm proud of the fact that we have a 33% increase right now in our traffic enforcement. And that's not talking about giving tickets. That's just talking about stopping people, educating, and using the appropriate level of enforcement. But what we hear from our residents and our guests who come into town is they thank us for what we do. I want people, when they come to Bench Sound, to see a police car on Street Road, on Route 1, on Route 13. They need to know we have their back, and we're going to protect them like we need to know, and we hear they have our back. It makes for a good system, a great community environment. And if we lose that, we lose everything. People need to feel safe in their home, in their community. And we have a very, very high task to do that as police officers, is to provide that service, to be involved with the community, to get that trust, but to provide enforcement and a consequence when people break the law.
Well put, Director. Have a nice weekend. Thank you. And thanks for this piece. Going to send it to my contacts. I think they're going to print it. So hopefully we'll get a few more hits of this.
I don't know if you saw it too, Director, but we're over, I think, 75,000 views on the Twitter post and also.
Which is amazing.
It's definitely getting out there. So
yeah, definitely.
I hope I can't thank you guys enough for what you're doing and getting the word out there. And we are united as a profession. And hopefully what you're doing today and what Chief Malloy, myself, and others around the area are trying to do will help. So thank you very much for taking the time and having me today.
Thank you, Director. Dan, so many people, Sherelle Parker, next time we talk with her, talk to her guy. So many candidates. I mean, listen to Malloy, listen to McVeigh. Any number of these people in the area would be a spectacular police chief. And take a look at what we have and where we are. All right. So I'm not going to say the name of the publication or some of these outlets yet. But at some point, if they don't print this, given their bailiwick, Dan, this is news. They're calling him out directly on this. And it's Philly effect on suburban towns. And I'm hopeful what the chief said, that the chiefs of police across Pennsylvania in a united way are going to start to push back on Krasner and driving equity. Can't give up on it. What's the alternative? To let him sit there and continue to have people mowed down? If Philadelphia doesn't care, they do care in Ben Salem. Dan, you had something else?
So hiring in the past, have they ever gone to the suburbs for chiefs or anything? Like it's so odd to me that they would go all the way to Portland for Danielle
Yeah,
Outlaw,
right.
but they won't.
Usually they would hire within, which I
Okay,
approve of.
yeah, definitely.
I would be fine with that too if she hires within. Yeah. But I'm just saying these are outstanding candidates.
Yeah.
I mean, if I were sitting there in the interview, I'd be like, oh man, this guy, and he looks, Dan, like somebody, it's on TV. You know, he fits the part. Then there's Pat Malloy. Yeah, I mean, he might point out his wife is Italian too. That always helps.
I say
Yeah.
with pretty strong confidence, though, and I think you would too. That I don't think that's their intention. It's just
No.
you know.
But
Yeah.
I'm hoping behind the scenes, if you're out in the suburbs and you're concerned about this, not just because you're afraid in your town, because you just can't stand it that you're sending all this money to this dystopia where I'm sitting right now called Philadelphia, where they arrogantly, well, they voted for Larry Krasner. It doesn't stop in Philadelphia. Isn't that obvious? You can't just contain it in Philadelphia. They're not even trying. They care less about what happens in the suburbs than in Philadelphia. I don't think Larry Krasner's shedding a tear of any of those things. No, he's fine with it. He's a great emancipator here. That's why. All right, coming up, Dan had some extra duty last night with a little home repair thing. So he was up, must have been monitoring Australian TV. Wait until you hear this exchange between an Australian senator and a Pfizer CEO on the links to heart inflammation, heart disease with young athletes and the others. I want to get this guy here for Congress because he's polite, but he just doesn't let up. And the guy trying to answer, I think I've answered that. No, the hell you haven't, mate. That was more Scottish.
That was kind of Scottish. It's like,
Yeah, I was doing Sean Connery there. At
yeah,
the
right.
end. All right.
We playing Celebrity Jeopardy today, Dom?
855-839-1210. You know, there are certain home maintenance chores we'd all rather not do, like repainting the exterior of your home every 5 years. Who wants to do that? Here's an incredible permanent solution to that problem, Rhino Shield. Rhino Shield looks like paint, goes on like paint, but it never chips, cracks, or fades. It's ceramic coating. It's guaranteed for life. You never have to paint again. The local Rhino Shield owner, John Gilgee, great guy, friend of the program, impressed with John, the product and the company, perfect for any surface. You got the beauty of fresh paint, the maintenance of vinyl, even insulates your home. Comes with a big 25-year guarantee that you can transfer if you sell your home. John meets with as many homeowners as he can himself, and they've helped thousands of Delaware Valley residents, including many of my listeners, upgrade the look and quality of their home. Call him now. Still time to get that incredible 20% off. Visit myrhinoshield.com or call 844-RHINO-99, 844-RHINO-99. It is Dom time. Great stuff from Ben Salem, Director of Police. Now, Dan found this yesterday. It's amazing. In Australia, they were much more in a lockdown mode and mandatory vaccination. They showed their true colors. Their sense of individual freedom is certainly not as great as ours. You may remember it during COVID. So here is an Australian Senator, Gerard Rennick, and he's got the Pfizer CEO on the links, particularly with younger people, to myocarditis. Here's how it sounded.
Note on the accent while I get this queued up.
Yes.
Sorry, Dom. It's fantastic. But,
Oh, yeah.
YouTube.com/@1210WPHT. If you're missing it today, you missed McVeigh. It's fantastic. But here's oh, man, I'm really screwing up
Okay.
here. Sorry, Dom. Let me mute that. And come on. Look at me as a great producer.
Yeah, I think you were
Can you
overextended there a
explain the
bit.
process why the vaccine causes myocarditis and pericarditis?
I'll take that, Dr. Hewitt. Sure. Based on our clinical trials and pharmacovigilance data, as well as real-world evidence following the distribution now of billions of doses of vaccine, we retain confidence, strong confidence in the safety profile of the trials and pharmacovigilance data, as well as real-world evidence following the distribution now of billions of doses of vaccine. We retain confidence, strong confidence in the safety profile of the vaccine.
Sorry, Chair, point of order. I've asked, do you understand why it causes, I know that it's a low risk, I'm asking, do you understand why it causes myocarditis? I want you to explain to me why it causes myocarditis. Do you understand why it causes myocarditis?
Pfizer is aware of very rare reports of myocarditis and pericarditis that have been temporarily associated with vaccination.
Well, they're still ongoing for some people.
Senator Rennick, Dr. Through should answer the question. Thank you, Dr. Through.
According to public health experts and regulatory authorities around the globe, the number of reports of myocarditis remains small.
I'm not referring to the number of reports. I want you to explain to me the mechanism of how the vaccine causes myocarditis. Do you or do you not understand the mechanism of why the vaccine causes myocarditis? It looks to me like you don't.
All right, that's part one. Here's a little bit more now. So you see what's going on here. They're evading it by trying to categorize it with all kinds of things. They don't know. So if you don't know, the bottom line point is you have to really warn people about that. Now, what would that do? Well, then maybe some young people, 15, 19, 20, 21, whatever, you weigh the risk and you don't get the Pfizer vaccine or maybe any vaccine. Here's a little bit more.
Explain to me the mechanism of how the vaccine causes myocarditis. Do you or do you not understand the mechanism of why the vaccine causes myocarditis? It looks to me like you don't. And if you don't understand it, why are you saying the vaccine is safe without qualifying the risks?
So Senator Rennick, I think Dr. Through is actually about to get to that point. Whether people agree, whether there's agreement to his evidence or not, is another question for others to make a judgment on. But if Dr. Through, if you could again go to Senator Rennick's question.
Senator, all medicines, all therapeutic products and vaccines have benefits and have side effects as well. Looking at the totality of the evidence for Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, regulatory authorities, health authorities, experts globally, including in Australia within the Department of Health and the TGA, have maintained that the benefit-risk ratio...
That's not the question that I asked. I asked, can you explain why the vaccine causes myocarditis? Yes or no?
Senator, the benefit-risk profile...
Yes or no? So you clearly don't understand the pathway, do you? Because you can't explain it. I'm not referring to the cost-benefit analysis here. I'm referring to, do you understand the biochemical pathway as to why the vaccine causes damage to the heart?
Senator, I'm happy to take your question on notice and come back to the committee with whatever information we can provide. I might just clarify, I was not referring to a cost-benefit analysis in my previous response. I was referring to the benefit-risk ratio, and health authorities around the globe continue to recommend the benefits.
This isn't the question that I'm asking. Anyway, thanks, Chair.
But can I just so I'm clarify as well, Dr. Through, you've agreed to take the question on notice and give further response to that question. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chair. As I understand, the question was
Oh,
about
stop
the
it already with this
mechanisms,
guy.
and we're happy to
You
take
don't
that question
know.
on
If
notice.
if you don't know, then your advertising campaign, the way you bill this, has to be much different. That's the point. I'm not saying you wouldn't get a vaccine if you were in those situations, but full knowledge, whoa, they don't understand what the causal element is here. That gives me some pause to take a look at the risk again.
So
That's fair.
My thing that came up with this is there are so many questions that were
Right.
they rushing this to market? Were they rushing
Well,
this to
that
market?
too.
If they know all
Right.
the answers, they know the side effects that this cause. And right here on record, you have the Australian Pfizer guy saying apparently they don't. They have no idea how it causes myocarditis.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like they're burning the midnight oil to try to get to that point.
Like
so
we
that,
need these answers.
Yeah,
we
right,
need an
to
open
make a decision,
conversation
to make
around
a decision.
coronavirus for the health of
Exactly.
our society.
Exactly. All right, coming up, Martina White. Did Republicans cave yesterday? There's a budget of sorts on the whole vouchers thing. And David Brooks of the New York Times says he understands why Trump has such widespread support. David Brooks? Wait until you hear his rationale. All straight ahead on Talk Radio 1210.